This is a tweet from Christopher Dring, who is apparently editor-in-chief at the game business. And he says, Xbox Game Pass is profitable. And that was a question we had for a long time. Because they're switching their model over to having all of these studios in-house and having their games basically launch for cheaper if you just get the subscription model. This is still to say that it's not necessarily profitable for third parties. Right. Third parties, like if you have your game launching day one on Game Pass, it's still a gamble whether or not it will be more or less profitable for you to do that. First parties, on the other hand, I believe that it probably is just fine for Xbox to do it that way. Especially now that they're releasing stuff on PlayStation.
Yeah.
You can just buy them.
Well, that's where their profit comes from. When Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, when that launched on PlayStation, they were like the top of the charts for like weeks.
That's a chart. That's not how much profit they're making.
That's sales. Chart. That's like that
yeah, but
helps.
There's no sales when it's a subscription model. Right. What I'm saying, they have a different. They have to have a different. Well,
clearly,
statement
people are willing to spend money on just these games, and might as well talk about fucking Arcane Studios founder is blaming Game Pass for all of Microsoft's troubles. Rafael Colantino, who founded the Dishonored and Prey developer, took to social media to ask, why is nobody talking about the elephant in the room? Cough, cough, Game Pass. You stand to make more money selling the game as a game.
That they're proving that is not necessarily true, because they can lock you into paying their subscription model for months without you realizing it. And they have proof of that with their little profit and loss.
But they also have proof in like the FTC statement.
You have an anecdotal guy who worked at Arcane Studios.
Microsoft admits Game Pass cannibalizes sales. Microsoft has admitted that putting games on its Game Pass subscription
because the sales don't matter if they get the subscription.
Sales. And sales might not matter to Microsoft, but they matter to like Tango
third parties.
Yeah.
Third parties.
Yeah. That's a big
first party. We know that. We know that already.
Yes,
first parties, it doesn't matter.
Microsoft owned Turn 10 Studios, and they laid off half their staff. They owned ZeniMax, and they laid off a lot of people who worked there. The Initiative was a wholly owned company. They just shut that down. This is what they're talking about here. The subscription model is not enough to keep the company profitable.
It is. They're just laying off people because that's what's been happening for the past 10 years. Is all these tech companies are making so much money and just getting rid of people. We've been seeing it for years.
I think the new release is what's biting them. Because like that, the new releases is what you want all your money to go to. And by cutting out sales of a new release, that's hurting your bottom line. That's why Sony doesn't put new games in PlayStation Plus. That's why Nintendo only does the catalog titles.